Hello, everybody, and we are just about on time, only about a week late. Thanks everyone for bearing with us, and welcome to tonight's live stream. We are joined tonight by Matt
Hello,
Pedalston.
sorry, excuse me a minute. I'm just plugging a keyboard into my console so you can see what the frame rate is.
You wouldn't think we were that prepared. And we've got a special guest tonight. We have Sean Delaney, who's the assistant producer from Skyhook Games, who are our proud friends and partners who have put together the Cane Creek route. So, hello, Sean. How are you doing?
Hi guys, yeah, I'm doing well, thank you. Hope you're all good as well.
Yeah, absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Friday night, and it's going to be a good week, I think. Going to be a good weekend, especially a good next hour and a half or so of everybody's time. So hello, everybody. Welcome, whether you're on Twitch or whether you're on YouTube. Hello to our moderation team again. They're there to help you guys tonight. If you have any questions, they should be able to help you out most of the time. So be nice. And if you haven't already, by way of introduction to Cane Creek, we'll hopefully be giving you a pretty good visual introduction to the route tonight. But if you want a little bit more context, there are a couple of articles on our website that would be great to take a look at, written by Gary Dozel, who is a brilliant writer. So very, very detailed. So if you have the chance, please take a look at them. I think the mods hopefully should be putting them in the chat in the very near future. And this is the first of two preview streams. So we'll be doing another preview stream next Thursday. So if we don't get a chance to cover absolutely everything tonight, which I don't think we will, we'll try and put it on a list to cover next week as well. So that's exciting, and we'll do our best in the meantime to kind of answer as many questions as we can tonight, show as much off, and if there's anything that we're not able to, we'll do so next week. Cool. Okay, Matt, what are we playing on tonight?
So we're going to be having a look at Cane Creek, as you said, and we're going to be looking at probably going to play a complete service. We'll probably play a little bit of a couple of different services, so you can see both the trains and different bits of the route as well. So I've seen some people in the chat complaining audio is out of sync on the cameras. It's because of the way that the system captures the video and the audio from the Teams chat. It's bad. So we're going to get rid of the cameras in just a minute anyway. So then it won't be a problem and you won't see the fact that it's out of sync. Right, so let's have a look at Cane Creek. You have a journey as usual. In the journey, there are a few chapters with some things to do. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Very sad. While I'm wasting time doing nothing useful, so this tonight's build is on a PlayStation. Come back to the
as illustrated right here. Actually, that's a very good illustration, Matt, of it being on PlayStation. It's definitely
I pressed the button to make that happen. That was intentional. Right, okay. Let me go back to the menu. Right. So yes, this is our PlayStation. It is obviously a pre-release dev build, but performance should be comparable. This console is a Ps4 Pro dev kit. So, right, Cane Creek. So again, got Dirt Train Mode Local, the Potash Local, free roam operations. We'll get to that in a little minute, and a whole day of Cane Creek. So a complete run. So let's have a look at in here. We've got training. So we've got the route introduction and the two tutorial scenarios. So fairly standard fare for a route there. Scenarios, there are 12. Wow, so many scenarios, you say. Well, there's a couple of little ones here because otherwise than that, you'll notice these scenarios are quite long. So there's some decent length scenarios to get tuned into. But there are some little ones here for the shorter journeys as well, so that everybody can get into it. But the longer ones are some of these free roam type scenarios, and I can't remember where they are exactly in here. But there are free roam type scenarios which allow you to. They're like the sort of the free roams we had in Sandpatch Grade and so forth, where you can just control the points and you're a little bit more in control of what you're doing, but you're constrained to particular areas of the route because we can't obviously in those go out to the onto the main line because you can't access the points and the signals. So this is the content there, and there's more gone into the scenarios because there is only the 21 services. I mean, in reality, Sean, how many services are there that run here on this line generally?
It's like you said, it's nowhere near 21. So the basis that we wanted to give the community is just a lot more sort of engagement along the lines with scenarios and the 24-hour timetable. We just felt that the reality of it is, from my understanding, is there's maybe a limited service per week of one or two.
Yeah.
So we needed to really ramp up those numbers.
Yeah, so there's plenty to do on the route without it feeling silly. But then there's scenarios which add some other gameplay in there as well. So this route, despite being relatively short with only a 21 numbers of the services, all of which will keep you busy, they're not short. You've then got the scenarios as well. So there's actually tons of gameplay on this. It's really cool. Right, so we're going to start with the AC4400, and so we've got a bunch of different services, and you can follow a particular train. So there's LDP46A, and you've got so you've got 46A to Moab, loading at Moab, return to Brendel, unloading at Brendel. So you can sort of follow the same train through doing its different bits if you want to. But we are going to run a service at 10:35, 51B to Thompson, which I think starts us at Potash, if I remember rightly.
Exciting. Just before we get started, obviously Cane Creek is one of the kind of the iconic Midwest routes that you can find in I suppose well, I suppose you could find really. But Sean, what was the idea behind choosing this? Because this is your first route in Train Sim World 2, isn't it? What was the reasoning behind choosing this particular route for kind of your opening gambit to the community and to the game?
So the genesis of the idea
because it looks like it's drowning you out. Hang on a second. Right. Hopefully you'll. If you want to carry on talking, and then viewers, if you can let us know whether or not the game is now at a sensible volume.
So the genesis of the idea, it was to create a TSW route, basically showcasing stunning western scenery, and for that Cane Creek is probably among the more dramatic areas that we could see right now. Cane Creek's well known among rail enthusiasts as well, not only for its extraordinary scenery, but also for its rather unique operations and of course using big power.
I mean, as I say, I think a lot of people have been very intrigued and excited since we showcased the initial screenshots at Rail FanFest back in start of April, I think it was, and particularly the kind of obviously the stunning scenery. This is from what I can gather the first, I suppose, desert route that we've done within. This is kind of it's the Mojave, isn't it? Around the Mojave area, which is obviously very arid, very dry, very like rock landscapes. What were the kind of challenges that came with that? I'm interested to know because, as I say, the scenery is absolutely stunning. We'll be seeing more of it as we go through the actual the route itself. But yeah, what kind of challenges did you come across?
So I would say first and foremost that one of the bigger challenges was you previously mentioned, which is our first route. So diving into this, we a lot to consider, and if you put on top of that the route itself, the scenery, we kind of sort of pushed the boundaries. We really wanted to show off something very scenic to the community. But for us, it was really a case of it being the first route that we've done for TSW2. People may or may not realise that go into it. We really had to take our time to just look at how things worked, how intricate they are, the amount of things that could cause problems for us. We really had to constantly monitor things on the technical side. We also had a few challenges with the scenery, just with it being so vast and dynamic. We wanted to put a lot of time into having sort of a dynamic look at the Rocky Mountains, you might see different aspects of it in different areas. We didn't want it basically the same, we wanted it to just catch the eye for players.
Brilliant. Are we just? Oh, sorry, I just wanted to quickly interrupt you, Sean, because we are getting some messages that audio is a little bit quiet. Is it? Are we able to kind of up the volume of the mics? Yeah, we'll take away the cameras as well. Because
do you want the mics up or the game up?
Doesn't help with the whole mics up, please.
Okay. How is that, folks?
Fantastic. I will keep talking and they can tell us. Yeah, what's important to note as well is this is a build that was updated, I think, yesterday. The Skyhook team have done a really grand job today of pulling together a lot more fixes and particularly around kind of a couple of scenery elements as well. So hopefully when we get to the preview next week, we'll be able to show you what the content will look like in pretty much its finished environment. So if you do see anything that's a little bit odd, then let us know in the chat, but it's hopefully something that's already been picked up by the team, and we'll be able to show you what it looks like properly next week.
There you go. So I've turned my microphone volume down a bit, and I've turned the guest microphones up to the maximum, and I've turned the game down most of the way. So see how it is. Ryan McKenzie, frame rate is not looking good. I'm getting 46 FPS on a PlayStation 4. It's not bad. Well, PlayStation 4 Pro. So someone asked earlier on, is it emulating a PS4 Pro or PS4? The PS4 Pro can't, as far as I'm aware, emulate the lower console. So this is a PS4 Pro.
I mean, we know that perhaps the best experience you might get is on PC for something like this, and even on console, this is looking pretty stunning at the moment. So the water looks great as well, and as you can see, it's very much a kind of a scenic enterprise. You're kind of almost at one with the environment, which is great. We're not in terms of release date, just I've seen a couple of people mention it in the chat, we're not going to reveal a release date today. We have another preview stream next Thursday, but we might be able to give you a little bit more details then. Okay, so we asked you all actually to kind of send over some questions in advance of this live stream, and obviously we've collated them over the course of the last few weeks, and we've got loads and loads of stuff that we're going to ask Sean over the course of the live stream. We're going to try and stagger them as much as possible because obviously we want to try and make sure that you guys can experience the route as well. But I suppose in terms of the kind of the journey to get to this point, Sean, what did it look like kind of when you first started, when you took on the project? What was the journey to where we are now? How did it kind of come about, and what were the things that you had to be very aware of when you were doing the development for this?
So at the start, we had to look into quite a few things that came across later. I think we all started by where once we had genuine interest to build a route for TSW2, our first protocol was to narrow down what sort of route we wanted to look for. And with Skyhook being sort of having a very art-heavy focus in the past, we wanted something visually stunning to just sort of show off ourselves to the world. And then when we narrowed down to Cane Creek, we then moved on to looking at the overall route as a whole and what complications there were going to be. Something that we really needed to hone in quickly was the capacity that PC has in comparison to console. So it took a lot more testing for console over PC for performance issues, and I will sort of look to the some of the draw distances in particular we had to sort of be mindful of, still capturing that stunning scenery whilst on console. But yeah, once we started development, the big thing that we had to take note of was the console performance and as well the technical side, as we didn't have a technical heavy team, so a lot of it was learn by doing, and just trial by error. But we felt that we've done really well on it as of now.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that was being asked, Matt, can we show the route map? Is it worth? Yeah, there we go. Let's show what the route map looks like. So it's pretty much an A to B, really, isn't it? There's a little branch coming off further along the line, but it's kind of this scenic, very much like a winding, meandering route that goes through the canyon, and there's I mean, Sean, you're probably able to better describe it than I am when we get towards where the end, sort of where the branch comes off. What's kind of at the end there, and why have we kind of said it so that we're doing this route first? Because I think we're going to do a reverse route on the way. We're going to do another reverse scenario. Kind of what's towards the end of the route as well.
Yeah. Well, towards the end of the route is the Brendel area, and it's quite a bit different to Potash. It's got an end junction there, and I guess one of the reasons we're going from end to end is just because of just showing the different types of scenery that you can see along the way. You can see some vehicles moving across. There's some areas across Cane Creek that will have that. Some won't necessarily have that. You'll come across quite a few different smaller areas with different types of canyons, and I believe as you keep travelling through, we should be heading towards the tunnel area as well.
Tunnel will be coming up shortly, yes.
We'll try and make sure we're quiet during the tunnel. What was I going to say? A lot of questions about sound so far. So in terms of the sound, is this a new sound, or is it used on previous DSW2 locos and routes before?
So the sound has been used from routes previously released. I can't really go too much into detail as to why, but just having limitations of access to sound from locals from our point of view was one of the main reasons we decided to go that route. Okay,
cool. And that's from sorry, I meant to sort of talk about the people who are actually submitting some of these questions. So thank you, Cola Cone, I think was that submitted that question. We've also had a couple of questions from the Strudwicks, and it's your 165 as well. Okay, so I don't want to. There was a question about what routes are you going to do next. Let's save that for perhaps later on in the stream. But we've talked about how many services there are, and kind of some of the reasonings behind why there are kind of more scenarios than perhaps players might be used to, and perhaps less services than players are used to. Could you, for the purposes of people who are perhaps coming in a little bit later, could you just go through that again for us, Sean, as to kind of the reasoning behind having so many, quite long scenarios? There's quite a lot of hourage, I suppose, in the scenarios, and in terms of the services, perhaps it's slightly less than usual.
Yeah. I saw the reason being is the kind of link to one another, and it's the fact that Cane Creek in reality don't have that many services throughout anyway. In regards to the scenarios, we decided to put quite a few in there, so as you said, there aren't as many as you would typically get services. So we added longer scenarios throughout the routes. We had a few shorter ones in there as well to try and ease players into the game more, because of the standard ones that we had were anywhere between maybe 45 minutes to an hour and a half on each scenario. Sorry. So there are a couple of others, one that might be 30 minutes and one that's also about 35 minutes long. As for the services, yeah, again, realistically, you don't get that many services across the Cane Creek route anyway. So even though 21 isn't that much, it's actually quite a lot in comparison to the reality.
Awesome. A few kind of chat questions. What's the top speed on the route? That's Chief Longshin.
Is that top speed as in how you should be going, or?
Yeah, speed limit.
I believe the highest we go with is, I believe, 80. I don't hold me to that. That's positive though. It is 80. It's the maximum you should be going to.
Ooh, okay, so we're going to be putting the pedal to the metal a little bit further on then. That's interesting. Okay, so as you can see in the top right hand corner as well, we've got the FPS counter as well. So if the stream is a little bit stuttery, the gameplay is absolutely fine. It's just serving teams and the gameplay via serving restream via Teams is not necessarily the easiest way to do it, but it's the best way that we can get this kind of scenario where we've got 3 of us on the call at the same time. So yeah, that's so if you can check out the FPS counter in the top corner, it's about 45 we're averaging on a Ps4 Pro, which is not too bad at all. As you can see, it's not really impacting the experience of Matt when he's driving the loco as well. Okay, this is another question from Colicone. Are there banking comm services? Now, you might have to decipher this for me, Matt or Sean, because I'm not 100% sure what that means. So please enlighten me, and a yes or no would be lovely.
Yes, there are, and it works. In fact, we're going to do one. We're going to do one of them in a minute, just to demonstrate it.
Awesome. Okay. Well, seeing is kind of understanding and all that, so I look forward to seeing. How much of this world are we able to traverse on foot? And again, we might do some exploring a little bit later on, or perhaps in next week's stream. But how much of the world are we able to traverse on foot? And that's from Itzia165.
I really couldn't tell you a specific number on that, I'm afraid. Yeah, that's tricky. I'd have to get back to you on that one.
Cool. But I mean, there are areas in which you can wander around and kind of soak up the scenery and stuff.
Yeah, there are some areas more restricted to the players than others. For example, where Matt's going along here, you find it a bit more restrictive because ideally you wouldn't really want players to be going down the side of a cliff into the water. So
that's fair. That is very fair. Is there any road traffic? I think we've seen some anyway as we've gone through. So yeah, there is road traffic alongside at certain points. So what we've not even really talked about locos yet. What locos are covered within the route, and how do we go about kind of building them, making sort of bringing them to Train Sim World 2?
So the 2 locos that are in Cane Creek are the SD40-2 and the AC4400 CW. And what we did is we took the base models of the existing locomotives and made changes to them to be more accurate to the UP models. It took quite a bit more work to do than we anticipated, just with the amount of subtle changes that are to be made. And then when you're making those changes, you have to test everything to make sure it doesn't break. We had to take our time with this. I know that people might think, well, it's just a simple repaint job, but it is more than that, and there are technical elements that need to be considered when doing those changes.
Yeah, I think, Matt, we've talked about this a little bit as well, isn't it? It's I mean, there are when we do create locos, it's not just a simple case of copy paste. There are things that come into it which need to be considered, and there's a lot of kind of work that goes on in order to make these things playable on these different routes. But I don't know if you wanted to go into a little bit more detail on that.
Yeah, I mean, this loco in particular has had brand new trucks modelled. There's a litany of changes made from the original CSX model to turn it into the UP model. I mean, one for example that was done relatively recently was the guardrails, different shape. The window on the cab door was removed. And these are all, each individual change is small, but they add up actually to being more than you'd think. It was certainly not just a case of picking yellow, and a few changes internally, I think. But predominantly, it's the detail changes on the outside. And yeah, I mean, in SD40 had the same treatment as well. So we'll see that in a minute when we get there.
Oh, I can see see a
Corona Arch.
Corona
Corona
Arch. That's
Arch.
it. Yeah. That's one of the That's one of the scenic highlights of the route as well. One of the milestones as you go past. Someone's asked how long is the route. We don't think we've covered that yet, actually. I should be able to come up. I think I've got this on my cheat sheet actually. Bear with me. It is 40 miles. So that's from Thompson to Potash. 40 miles is the length of the route. And then that's 30.8 miles, and then the length of the branch as well that comes off of it, I believe. 40.8. Yeah, thanks, Alec, in the chat. We have what other questions do we have? Okay, let's stay on the loco. One of the things that was mentioned quite a lot was around the hoppers. As the kind of the rolling stock model, and there are a few people that identified that there will be a specific type of hopper that will be used because some of these locos were used to transport sort of radioactive material, and I know that when we've produced kind of as part of the rolling stock this new hopper, which obviously isn't one of those types of hoppers. Can you kind of go into a little bit more detail as to why we've kind of chosen to move along that path and some of the considerations when we've been kind of building this?
Yeah, so the reason for the rib-covered hopper is because it's not only common to Cane Creek, but a standard design extensively used and common throughout North America. So we thought it would be a great addition. In real life, the containers at Moab are loaded by cranes, just like containers and trailers are in intermodal terminals. So the accurate use of the flat cars and containers was pretty much a no-go because loading needs to be interactive, and loadable container cranes and such aren't yet available in TSW2.
Okay, cool. And as you can see, we're going through the tunnel now. Matt, I know that there are a couple of things that maybe we wanted to point out here. Is this something that we're taking a look at?
So yeah, this tunnel is not light baked currently, and actually the latest build that Skyhook actually put internally for testing on Steam, this is now light baked, but it hasn't yet made it into a PlayStation build. So next week's stream, it should be light baked. The other thing to note is consoles have a much lower draw distance. So someone actually on the chat was commenting about a void where the scenery stops. And that's just because consoles have a much lower draw distance. You know, you're talking about a machine that costs 150, 200 quid. So it can't do what your £2,000 PC can do. So the settings are much closer in. And the same is true why you can see daylight at the end of the tunnels, because the tunnel stops. So it will keep going and will follow. But that's specifically a console thing. PC will behave as you normally expect it to on the PC. Tunnels are a lot brighter, Chief Longshin. Yes, that's because it's not been baked. This will be dark in the real one.
Yeah. So one of the questions was why are we doing this on PlayStation? Surely then PC would be a better option to do a preview stream on, and we will be doing a PC one next week, I believe. We wanted to show you this on console because we want to show you what happens on all of the different places in which you might be able to play this route. We don't want to try and mislead or anything like that, because we know that PC is likely to be the best that you can get. And we don't want to we want to try and make sure that you are making an informed decision about whether you want to invest your time or your money into a route like this, understanding what it's going to be like on the platform that you play the game on. So this is what it will be like on in fact, no, scratch that. We have got a few changes in, obviously, with the tunnel. Matt's already talked about the baked on stuff that will come in for next week, but it's already on the PC build, but on PlayStation. But there will be a few tweaks and things like that we're working on at the moment that will be coming into the final version of this when it launches. So yeah, we want to show it in all forms across all of the different platforms in which you can possibly play the content. So yeah, we might do PC previews for other routes. We might do console previews for other routes. We try not to show preference either way. Okay, ask another question. So what is the number range on the AC4400CW and the SD40? That's from Challenger 3985.
So the AC4400's number range is 6550 to 7137, and the SD40-2 is 1600 to 1799.
Cool. Are the locos available for use on other routes? And is the GP3? Sorry, I'll ask that first one. That one first. The locos available for use on other routes?
I can answer that one. No, they are.
Unfortunately, they're not.
I know that was.
Oh,
I was doing something the other day. I was running Sampat's grade, and a train rolled by me with a Union Pacific SD40 behind it. So substitution is alive and well.
Okay. I guess I know that. I don't have access to all the routes, unfortunately.
Nice. Okay. And follow-up question is the GP382 from Peninsula Corridor available on this timetable? And that's from FinTD.
I can say that one is a no, yeah.
Okay, cool. Does the train have safety systems? That's DB Spotter Germany.
No, I don't believe it does.
It's got the alerter, but it doesn't. There's no PTC or anything like that. But the alerter is there. You can switch it on the back wall there in the fuse panel.
Cool. Nice one. Let's go to another question. Do the SD42, 42 and AC4400CW have different services in the timetable, or do they share the same services?
The locos are fixed per timetable service, so they have fixed timetable services.
Okay. Does this route have a positive train control? And Matt, I know that you wanted to jump in on this one.
This is a safety systems question that was asked earlier on. So no, there's no PTC. So PTT is a safety system that tracks the train's speed according to where it should be and actively takes control of the train and stops it if the engineer breaks the speed limits. It's a safety system to stop trains going too fast, because without that the engineer can do whatever they like. And that's been the cause of a few too many accidents, so PTC was mandated. But this train does not have the PTC, and neither does the route.
Awesome. Okay, what's the most amount of freight cars that you can haul on this route?
So the most amount that you can haul is 43 cars. The real world cane creek generally sees shorter train lengths, so 2 to 3 engines and a few dozen cars, like we have on our route, is pretty much what you mostly see in reality as well.
Awesome. Okay. And we are currently going at 21 miles an hour, Matt. We are speeding a little bit.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. So Matt, you've been driving now the loco for about half an hour or so. What are your favourite things about driving this particular loco, and about kind of the route in itself so far?
So I like driving the American freight routes just because when you sort of crest the surface and then you're heading down the other side, you've got to manage the dynamic brakes and so forth. I find that a lot of fun. And despite the relative short size of this train, I mean, can't quite see the end of it at the moment, but it's not a particularly long train. I'm still finding that with the gradients that we're on here and with the 2 locos we've got, that it's still, I'm not sitting in notch 1 and I'm on notch 5 at the moment, and so it still feels like it's there's a heavy cars that are pushing up a bit. But then you just look at the scenery. I'm just in awe of the scenery. It's just so good. You really feel like you're traversing down this route, because certainly for a large majority of it, it sort of has this varied look to it as you're going down, and you can see there's nothing like it in Train Sim World at all. It's really, really cool. So that's kind of my favorite bit about it. It's just the experience of driving it and the way that the scenery has been done. It's just full. My hat off to Skyhook. The art of the route is nothing short of stunning.
Brilliant. And Logan's just asked about timetable again, so we'll talk a little bit more about timetable bits and pieces. So 21 services, I think, isn't it?
21,
and then 12
yeah.
and 12 scenarios, which is a lot more than actually in real life, but we wanted to give you a little bit of variety and mix things up a little bit, so you can see the route in all of its glory, multiple different times of the day, all of that kind of stuff. Hopefully we'll be able to actually show you a little bit of the route in sunset as well as because this is around sunrise, isn't it, or sort of morning.
We're
Yeah,
11
it's
o'clock here
early
at the
morning.
moment. We're going to be running a 5+6 service shortly.
Cool. Collectibles. Anthony Pecoraro has asked, what are the collectibles on this route?
So the collectibles on this route are the point of interest boards. So along the route you'll find multiple boards to put the posters on, and they have different points of interest about the Cane Creek route itself. Whether it's about the specific areas you're in, so it could be that you're in Potash, it'll have a description about the Potash area and a bit of history about it. And then you've got the water dispensers. The thinking behind that was, very hot, very humid, very dry. You definitely need some water, stay hydrated. And then, as it's a freight route, we decided that spiking hammers and high visibility vests would also be a good addition to it, just for the constant sort of reminder that work is always ongoing around that route.
That sounds good. Yeah. Well, I mean, we all need water, don't we? So that's always a nice thing to have, I suppose. Also, I know that some of the community have already seen some of the mastery bits and pieces already. Can we go into a little bit more detail about mastery?
Yeah, so with the mastery challenge, we had a few ideas floating around, and somebody jokingly mentioned dinosaurs, to which we responded, "That's not a joke. That could happen." Because there is a part of Cane Creek that has some historical sort of background towards dinosaurs, so that's what led us to putting dinosaurs in for the mastery challenge.
Do you want to go into a little bit more detail with that? I mean, obviously dinosaurs. Everybody loves dinosaurs. What's the kind of? Do you know kind of the specific heritage of dinosaurs and the fossils and whatnot that have been sort of surfaced in this area, or is it something that perhaps you haven't had that much visibility on?
I personally hadn't had that much visibility on it. It was only through our team that just did a background search into the dinosaurs, who they had a better idea of how that actually came about. Unfortunately, I don't have the details on that.
I mean, it looks like there's a dinosaur park, so that is always a good sign, I think. And it sounds like that's pretty close to where the route is as well. So I would imagine it's probably something to do with that. But mastery. We know that the Cathcart mastery, the UFO. Went down really well. We wanted to try and do some different things with mastery kind of moving forward. So if you like those kinds of things, let us know the things that are perhaps a little bit different, and we'll try and see what we can do with future routes as well. Bakeby has asked if we can drive the dinosaurs and who did the sounds for them, because that's very important apparently.
No, you can't drive the dinosaurs.
I think we should try and do that. I personally would vouch for a dinosaur simulator. Let's go with that. Let's do that. Oh, sorry, I just thought I'd lost my headphones then for a second, but can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Fantastic. Okay, brilliant. So yeah, I mean, we haven't touched too much on the cab car itself yet. Matt, do you want to do a little quick tour of the cab car?
What?
Sorry?
The cab car?
Sorry, no, just where we are at the moment. Where
The
we are
cab.
at the moment. Yeah.
Right. Sorry. Yeah. So so this is, we've got the two electronic screens here, and some different functionality you've got on there. So you've got a distance counter on here as well. These two rows of buttons, same as on the CSX one, these two rows of buttons marry up to these two rows of buttons. So if you want the distance setting, then you want the bottom row, you press 4, and then that gives you the distance setting, which means you can start initiating the how you want that to track, and it can do all sorts of things. You've got your, I can get up because no safety's on. So you've got various systems over here. So your DPU is enabled here for controlling other trains, and you've got things like engine start, headlight control for multiple units, and I believe the warning systems is over here as well somewhere. The refrigerator, of course, that's an important function.
In the middle of the desert, I would imagine it probably is.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, somewhere down here there's a. I don't know. That's not where I was expecting the safety systems. Crosswalk lights, number lights. So yeah, I don't know where the safety system button's gone. It was in here somewhere. Somewhere. I'll look for it another time, and we can show it the next time. Yeah, so this is the cab, and obviously you can head on down here, and you can have a nosy out the front. Try not to fall off. Yeah. And you can also wander around the back.
It's quite cool to do that on a moving train as well, isn't it? Being able to. Because obviously, with a lot of the kind of the passenger routes and whatnot, obviously you're not able to really skirt around because you're going too fast most of the time. So.
Well, this would be seriously frowned upon in reality.
Well, I mean, yeah, but it's fun.
It's a game. So
it's a game.
You can do things that you wouldn't normally do if you choose to.
Does the radio work?
In CSX it did. So this is the banking com switch here, the display button. So it doesn't seem to be doing anything in the radio. It did in CSX though, so I don't know quite why it's not making the sound there. The horn sequencer button doesn't work on this. No, I tried that the other day.
Cool. Snow. Someone's asked about snow and weather conditions. Is that something that we've considered or we've implemented with this route?
Yeah. So the weather conditions for this route is you've got clear, sunny. There's rain. You've got snow as well, and more windy conditions for this route.
Cool. A couple of questions about banking com as well. I believe we're going to be showing something over the course of the next half an hour or so.
Yeah, I'm going to. What I'll do is I'll run a bit of the next service, which just gives a similar journey to this actually, but just from a different time of day. And then we'll come back and we'll do the banking com, just quick show that and just prove that it's all working.
Cool. So how much of the route have we done and how much have we got left, do we believe? So this is kind of, we've gone almost from start to finish here, I suppose, haven't we? We're still a pretty significant away.
Oh yeah, no, the route it's 25 miles an hour. The route is is quite a slow journey. What I wanted to do is just drive through the rock valley that's just coming up, because that's really nice.
Cool. We will do the SD40 as well.
Yeah, we're doing the SD40 next.
Someone's asked interesting question about the scenario. Sean, I'm not sure whether you might be able to answer this one or not. Is there overheating in a scenario? Is there a scenario in which the train overheats, or?
No, there isn't such a scenario where the train overheats.
That's maybe something that we can consider perhaps for future routes that might do something similar. It's an interesting concept. Yeah, I'd be interested to know how often that happens.
We've got the beginnings of temperature modelling in the internals and simulacra and so forth, but it's not complete enough to actually use yet. Because there are rules to how long you can leave a train in run 8, for example, or any of the notches in particular. There's time limits on them because of the wear and the overheating and so forth. So those are kind of like factors that we'd like to start looking at in the future, but they're not in the game yet.
Question about co-op multiplayer. I think that's a significant way away at the moment. It's not currently on the roadmap, so that's normally the indicator that there is work currently being done on it. So if it's not on the roadmap, then it's not currently being worked on. Only 40 FPS on Matt's hot rodded PC. We're actually on console tonight. We are on Ps4, on a Ps4 Pro. So sorry, Bill, to disappoint you. Hopefully, 45 FPS on a Ps4 Pro is probably not the worst thing in the world. So we will hopefully be able to show you PC next week.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, TC Mark, good question that I meant to ask and I completely forgot. Is there a reason why these trains look brand new instead of being weathered? Which brings us nicely on to Sean talking about because there were a couple of articles where there was a weathered livery, there was a non-weathered livery. Can you go into a little bit more detail about how that all worked?
Yeah, so basically, we decided to do weathered versions of the AC4400 and the SD40. And then we had considerations that with the AC4400, we also wanted to do a clean version, just to just add that bit more variation for the player, whether they wanted to journey on a weathered loco that looks well travelled, or they want a brand new one, just have that shiny new loco, basically.
Cool. Someone has very helpfully pointed out the fact that we probably could put PS4 in the title of the stream. So I've just changed the YouTube one. I'll do it on Twitch as well when I get a second. But that is a good point. We will do that in future streams. Thank you very much for the note. We're always learning here, so that's good. But yes, this is on PS4 tonight. Okay. Will draw distances get? Well, I mean, this is more of a general Matt question, but will draw distances be better on next-gen consoles?
So for the release of this route, at the moment in TSW2, the next gen consoles are running with the same graphics settings as current. So the graphics detail, just as with all of the other TSW2 routes, is the same on a next gen console versus a previous gen. Frame rates obviously be much higher on the next gen consoles. We are looking at what we can do with next gen specific versions. But I can't say any specifics about that yet because it's not finished. But we want to get to having better graphics on the next gen consoles, but they're not there yet.
And you were saying about shadowing as well, Matt, weren't you?
Yeah, we're looking at what we can do because obviously one of the other things that's really important is seeing that shadow draw line disappearing off it. That doesn't disappear off into existence; it just follows you 10 feet in front of the train. So again, that's something else the team are actively looking into trying to improve.
Brilliant. And this is quite an interesting part of the route. So at the moment, it looks like we are kind of traversing a mini canyon. And how long does this part of the route last for, Sean?
Just this Rocky Canyon area. It depends on whether you going towards the speed limit, but I would have said 15-20 minutes if you're going towards the speed limit from where it started.
Okay, interesting. Question about level crossings as well. Are there any level crossings in this route? And if so, are they functional?
Yes, and yes, they are functional. I believe they'll probably be functional in this build as well. So essentially what our crossings are like are basically once the train is looking to pass, if you're just looking to traverse across through the crossing, you should notice that the lights animate and flash and give you the warning that you shouldn't be crossing at that particular point.
Someone just asked about the shadow in the alley. You'll notice the sun is directly over us, which is kind of why you're not really seeing much in the way of shadow. There are shadows on the side here, look. And if you look at the shadow on the side of the train, you can see that it's so you're not going to get the shadow across, but you would if the sun was further down.
We are at the hottest point of the day. You do not want to be stuck outside there at this time of day in the Mojave Desert. And because it is a desert ecosystem as well, you mentioned about snow, Sean, as well. And believe it or not, there is snow in this area because it does get so cold in the evenings. If there is any kind of precipitation or anything like that, it can come as snow as well. So I can imagine doing maybe that's for next week, Matt. Maybe we can do something with snow next week and show what it's like in the snow.
Yeah, the snow looks really nice on the way that the snow has been applied to the rocks. So yeah, that's definitely worth looking at.
But yeah, I mean, right now we don't really want to be thinking about snow because it is probably upwards of 35 degrees Celsius in the middle of the day, nearly 100 Fahrenheit for you US viewers, and you would be wanting quite a considerable drink, probably with lots of ice in it at this stage. 716 Rail fan asked how many trains run through here daily. Is it like one or two? Yeah, one or two maybe per week. As you can see, it's a single track route as well. So is that the same for the entire route, Sean? Is it single track the entire way?
So there are some areas that will have multiple track and some switching lanes. It's more in the main areas like Potash and Thompson, for example. But generally, throughout the majority of the route, it is one track, and you can see why as well, that it is only a few services a week.
Cool. So Matt, can you just tell us a little bit about what we're
So
doing
I just
now,
thought because we talked about liveries earlier on, so I thought I would just show that show the other livery before we move on to the SD40.
Cool.
We touched on the liveries earlier on, so I thought since I was in the menu, it was a good time to have a quick look. Also, this is a much earlier time of day, so the lighting's going to be quite different.
Yeah, so there are two variants of this. One of them is the weathered look. One of them is the clean look. We are looking at, I believe, at the weathered look. See, I like this. I think I like this one more.
Trains should be dirty.
It feels a little bit more.
Trains should be dirty.
Yeah, it feels a bit more authentic, doesn't it?
No train is clean. And some trains are actually dirty coming in. They come out the washer because that's only appropriate.
Feels more rugged. Feels more kind of apt for the environment as well. I quite like this one. So and people in the chat are enjoying this one as well. So I think there's probably going to be a few people that use this one when we launch.
Right,
cool.
Let's go and have a look at the SD40.
Okay. Then. Yes.
So the SD40 service, Sean, that was down on the list is actually just covering the same route we've just done. Do you want me to just do one southbound? I'll just find one at a similar time of day going southbound. So that we see a different part of the route. So there's only one livery on the SD40. So this one was around 6:05. So let's go with that one, which is around 3:30, which is from the north of the route.
ELRR in the chat asks, are you all still working on it? So you're seeing a build that was submitted yesterday. The Skyhook team have beavered away today to kind of get another build over to us, which we're going to be using next week. So there are a few tweaks for the people that were watching earlier and saw the inside of the tunnel, for instance. That will all be baked in as of next week, so we'll be able to show you that one in all its glory next week. There'll be a few other little changes here and there, but the majority of things will remain as they are for the release. I think we've answered this one already, British Ace, in terms of the GP38 UP. I can't remember the answer though, Matt. If we can use that as a substitute on Peninsula Corridor.
Yes, it will. I don't know. Sorry, not on Peninsula Corridor. I've not seen any seen of it, sight of it working on Peninsula Corridor. I have seen it working on Sandpatch Grade though.
Cool. So this is the SD40. We're getting some requests for the horn as well, if we can. And the bell as well. All of the audio signals.
Again, the audio is the same as it was in CSX.
Yeah. Sean, question for you: is there a donkey on this route? And I think when we chatted beforehand, we explained a little bit about the donkey. Is there a donkey on this route?
No, there isn't a donkey on this route, and I'm not gonna lie. When I saw the question and heard it, I was just thinking, I don't know where that's come from, but obviously with a bit more background research, I realise now that there isn't. No, I'm sorry to say to the fan base.
We were talking though about in future routes if there was going to be kind of a Skyhook mascot or icon that could be used perhaps in future routes as well. I know that the Rivet team have got, I can't remember what they have, but they have their own little signature thing, let's say. So it'd be good to see what you guys can get with perhaps another route that you do for us in the future. Yeah,
I mean, we are eager to do another route for TSW2, and we are looking into it. And obviously now that I've relayed that question to the team of what can Skyhook's signature be. So there are some ideas floating around. We'll keep you posted on that.
Nice. And just in terms of future routes and stuff like that, obviously you mentioned you'd like to do more. I suppose at this stage you probably can't tell us any more about what that looks like, but you'd like to do more, I suppose, is the takeaway.
Yeah, we would. We are looking at a majority of areas, but as of yet I can't really say.
Nice. Okay, so Matt, can you give us a little bit of a rundown of where we are, what we're doing? Because I've been talking and I've not really been paying attention, to be brutally honest with you.
So we're in the north of the route, we're on the main line here, and then coming down to Grand Junction, where we'll turn left onto Cane Creek. And this is the faster bit of the route, so you can see the speed limit is now 60. I'm going to take my dynamic brake off and put some power on. So yes, we can go a bit faster on this end of the route. Essentially, the bit that we did earlier on is the slow bit, the detailed bit. You want to be going slow because you want to take in all the detail. But this bit is more flatlands. It's got a very different feel to it on the north end of the route, and it's quite a lot faster. So you can get up a fair bit of speed on it. So we're heading southbound. We've got 3 SD40s. I did actually look. This is the new hopper wagon, the ribbed hopper wagon, which is new to the pack, which is very nice.
Nice.
Along with the obviously the existing hoppers in the consist as well.
Nice. You can feel that we're going quicker as well. You can feel it's a bit more of an opportunity to kind of spread your wings a little bit on this section of the route.
I mean, we're going downhill as well, which means that we'll be dialing in those dynamic brakes shortly.
Just on gradient, is there kind of a high and lows gradient on this route?
Yeah, there are points where you will find you are going down steep, so you'll need to make sure that your controls are there just to make sure you're in the speed limit. And then there are sections where the gradient is much higher, so you're going to need quite a bit more power to get yourself going at a reasonable speed.
Cool.
See a couple of people talking about scenery popping in. Just a reminder, this is PlayStation 4, so the scenery is dialed in much closer than it would be on the PC. So that's why you're seeing scenery pop in much closer. So we're getting about 45 roughly FPS, Ps4 Pro, and so very playable on the consoles.
Cool. Pat, you are enjoying a little bit of speeding tonight, aren't you?
This is not a surprise for anybody that knows me, but.
Conductor Ethan Blowers said, "I'm going to go full power on the whole route and see what happens." I take my hat off to you, Ethan. I'd like to see a video of what happens. So pictures already didn't happen.
He can, but if he comes across the sharp turns along this route, good luck to you.
So we passed a
lot of people saying
a set of yellow signal earlier on, so I am dialing in the brakes and just bringing the speed slowly down.
A lot of people saying this looks quite kind of Australian outbacky as well, which I get as well. It is kind of a similar kind of vibe, I'd say. Actually, if anybody hasn't seen it already, we released the trailer for the route actually a few hours ago. So if you do want to check on our YouTube channel, you should be able to take a look at it. There are a couple of articles as well that are on the website written by the brilliant Gary Dozel. So if I hope I pronounced your surname right, Gary. If you haven't read them already, they're a really good read. They give you a little bit of an introduction to the actual route itself, as well as also some details on the kinds of things you can expect on the route as well. If perhaps we haven't covered everything that we're able to during this stream. Hopefully, as I say, the mods should be able to chuck those links in the chat as well.
Someone asked earlier on about FPS counter on a PlayStation or on Xbox One. Yeah, plug your keyboard in and press F3. And you can do that. That's also how I got this static mode there, because you can't get this with the controller, but if you plug the keyboard in, you can change your mode as normal.
Cool. Sean, what's your favourite part of this route?
My favourite part, honestly, is kind of the area that Matt's travelling now, and I'm gonna sound kind of generic with this answer. It's because of the speed you can go at. I enjoy going at higher speeds, and just seeing the sort of distant mountains. I think it just has a much nicer view to me. The distant mountains. Although I do love the canyon areas that we saw previously. I just feel the overall look from this point of view, it just grabs me a lot more. Just the distant views and the overall look of it to me. So I much prefer driving around these areas, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree. I think as well. I'm a fan of higher speeds, so it's nice being able to kind of feel the wind through your hair to a certain extent. It's quite nice.
Yeah, exactly.
What was I going to? I was going to ask something and I completely forgotten out of the. In terms of the services and the scenarios, are there any during? So they kind of cover the 24 hours of that you would sort of see, or are they kind of all? I suppose what I'm saying is, are there night services as well as day services?
Yes, there are night services as well as the day services. In the timetable in particular, we tried to mix it up generally, just to give the players a bit more variety as well of the day and night cycles. And then obviously we had to make sure that they all connect with one another as well. So you've just got that continuous service as well. So there's really no end to it.
Yeah, it is end to end, isn't it? The trains that are in the service mode are Grand Junction to Potash and Mobe essentially and it's just up and down the line, which is really fun. Red Leader, no, this is PlayStation 4 Pro I'm running on here.
We've now put it in the title of the live stream as well on YouTube. I still need to do it on Twitch. Actually, bear with me 1 second. I will just change it on Twitch as well, just so that we've got parity.
I'm also thinking we should try and put it into the overlay on the screen so that it's really obvious on the screen.
Yeah, we should put a little ticker, shouldn't we? All things to take away from this live stream for future ones.
There you go. I earned a trophy on my PlayStation. See, that's a very PlayStation thing to do.
Cool. Yes. So I'm just trying to think what we've. So what we'll do is next week if there are any requests for things that people would like to see, I'm going to set up a forum thread. Or actually no, what I'll do is I'll link you to the forum thread that we've set up for this live stream in the chat, and if anybody would like anything that to show in the next week, so next Thursday, you can then put it in there and we will try and cover as much as we possibly can do. So let me just find that.
Something to make a quick note of this, Sean. That crossing we just passed, which is the first one out of Grand Junction, wasn't down. So I don't know if you want to get the team to just have a quick look at that.
Okay, yeah, I will do.
Because I know the junctions are supposed to be working, and I've seen them work on this route, so I don't know why that one wasn't working. So, yes, make a note and let's have someone look at that.
Yeah, so this isn't the final version of the route.
It's not even the most up to date because, as you were saying earlier on, JD, there was more work that's gone in but hasn't actually been built yet into the consoles. This is the latest one we've got on console, but there's even things that have been fixed now. So next week we'll be on PC, and that will be the latest build at that moment. So we'll be able to see where things are at.
Cool. Let me just put that link in the chat for you all now. I won't do it through Restream because it now kills links, so I'll just do it directly through Twitch and through YouTube. You can submit any questions, suggestions for things that you would like to see in there, and we will do our best next week, myself and Matt, to answer anything that you have in there. Boom, there we go. Okie dokie. Let's just see if we've got any more questions, shall we? yeah, again, please feel free to chuck them into the chat now as well. We've got a little bit of time to be able to answer some questions. We set aside some time each live stream so that we can answer anything on the fly as well, which is always quite nice. We have a roadmap stream next week. Yes, we will. It will be the first of our rush hour roadmap live streams. I think it will be Matt, Nat, and I want to say Adam as well, and we'll be covering a few of the bits and pieces.
There are no passenger stations on this route, Seba. This is very much freight out in the sticks.
How many AI trains are on the main line?
I think by and large there's only one train ever actually in motion, isn't there? Because there are AI trains, so if you just stand around you'd see some trains moving around, I think. But because it's a single track branch without any passing loops, I think.
Are the crossings animated? I think
they're
yes,
supposed to be, yeah.
What we, yeah. Where else? What are we looking? Will the? There's been a few comments about horns. Would that be something that we would perhaps take a look at after release, or would it be something that, as I say, we're happy with as it is, and we would kind of keep it as it is essentially?
Honestly, I would have said our gut reaction would be to keep it as it is. I realise that there is quite a strong call for a change of the sounds, but unfortunately we're not in a position to adjust the sounds.
Okay, no problem. So in terms of how long the route is, a couple of questions about that. I think we said about 40 miles, I think.
Yeah.
40 miles, 40 point something, and I can't remember exactly what it is. Yeah. It climbs. Here's some marketing bump that I've copied and pasted that might be useful for everybody to know. It climbs nearly 1,000 feet in elevation on a roller coaster profile featuring feature gradients of up to 1.2%, curves of up to 6 degrees, a passage through the 7,059 foot long bootlegger tunnel, which is the tunnel that you saw earlier, and a journey amid the towering cliffs of Moab, Bootlegger, and a Dragonfly canyons. Taking the throttle of Union Pacific's potent General Electric AC4400CW and the veteran Electromotive SD42 diesels. So there we go. There's the marketing bump. Hopefully that'll give you some kind of whistle-stop information that you might need. Rowan has asked, are there any shunting services or scenarios?
Yes, there are throughout the route.
Cool, that's good. Oh yeah, some people are translating miles into kilometers. Yeah, sorry, apologies for anyone on the continent watching. I pretty much work in mileage, unfortunately. Mr. JMB said, I might have missed this, but have you explained how the service is split into sections? So there are shunting. Are there shunting services and straight running ones?
Yeah, there's straight running ones, there's shunting ones. There's a variety of different ones throughout. So that that are pretty straight run. There's some that you will need sort of just drop your hoppers off and make a switch and change, go up, back up the reverse way. Yeah, there's a lot of different variety to play throughout.
Cool. Yeah, and we'd like to do these live streams because we want to try and give you an option to see what it all looks like and how it plays and how it feels before it goes on sale. So you've got the kind of the most informed decision that you can make as to whether you want to invest your time or your money into anything that we produce. So we've got this preview stream now that we're doing, which is on the Ps4 Pro. We'll do a PC one probably next week, and then we'll kind of take it from there. So we'll see. We'll hopefully be able to we'll be able to give you PC next week, show you what that looks like for anybody who is playing on PC, we'll see where we go from there onwards. If there's any other requests for any other kind of types of play, we'll try and take them on board.
So I'm just switching over. We've done a bit of a run with the SD40. and I thought I'd do one of the other northbound runs where we start off at Mobe with a top and tail train, one at the front, one at the back, and just do some get the banking com set up and just show that working.
Cool. David Melides asked, are there any sandstorms on the route?
No, there isn't, I'm afraid. Sorry about that.
I did think that was probably going to be the answer when I was asking the question, but I thought I'd ask it anyway. Anthony's asked, does this work with Scenario Designer?
It does, yeah.
Cool. And does it have rail driver support as well?
Yeah, it does.
Awesome. That's what we like to hear. Will there be scenarios using distributive power loco arrangements?
Scenarios, not so much. The scenarios, they're pretty much set up for you in the scenarios. It's the 24-hour timetable where you would need to set up that yourself. So we've left that for the player to set up, and there are some situations where you do need that.
This is one of them. If you don't set up the banking com, you will not get this train up the hill.
Oh, can we take a look at the sunset, please, Matt? Because I can tell it's looking dusky. Oh, yes, look at that. Look at that.
Sunrise, this is.
Oh, is it sorry, sunrise?
6:46 in the morning. Long shadows.
Should have looked at the clock, really, shouldn't I? That would have been a great shout. It's been a long week. So we're doing a little bit of a wander. A couple of people are asking how far you could wander on the route. So this is kind of some of the opportunities that you have to get out and experience the put your feet on the ground, so to speak.
Right. So I need the gen field switch in. Fine. Put DP on. Cool. Let's go back up to the front.
Thelonious just put, this looks so nice that you have me pricing houses in Moab. Surprisingly expensive for the middle of nowhere.
That's for the views.
Yeah.
Any more questions that you would like to ask us? Put them in the chat now. We happily take as many as we can whilst Matt is still wandering around.
It's the most exercise I've had in weeks.
yeah, that's not the truth, Matt. I can see your Strava stuff. I know that you go for a little wander at lunchtime.
Right. Okay. Now we're sat down. Banking com on. I'm going to ease up a couple of notches of power. We've got power coming on. Release the brakes. And you can prove it's working. I've used the external camera to fly down the other end of the train. And looking there, as you apply the power, you can see the rear train is now reacting. So that tells you banking com is working. So now the rear power unit is going to be throttling up. And in reality, this is done over radio links and other things, but we haven't got that level of detail in the communication between the trains. So it's done as if it was a separate engineer in the rear car, essentially.
That's very good. Very good. Has the route got dynamic weather?
So you can pretty much decide on the service mode what weather you're going to be going in. You can have the sunny weather, the rain, or the snow. You pretty much decide on that.
Cool. And we will do a snow route next week. We won't do it tonight because we want to be able to kind of show you in all its glory, and we're kind of coming towards the sunset of the stream at the moment, so we'll show you that next week. We'll add that to our list of things to kind of give you a look at. If you've got anything else, then there's a forum thread which is on suggestions, where if anybody would like to ask anything in particular or have anything for us to show, then please just let us know, and we will try and cover what we can when we do it on PC next week. A good question from Chief Longshin. Actually, this one's to you, Matt. What have Dovetail learned from Skyhook that they will, implement into their routes is the suggestion, but what have we learned from Skyhook?
One of the really interesting things that Skyhook have done, which I don't think that we have done yet ourselves, is using the Quixel Megascans, which is what these rocks are. They're actually now part of Epic, and they're freely available to developers using the Unreal Engine. And it's bringing those in because they're, on the one hand they're super detailed assets, but that's a double-edged sword. So you've got to try and do something with them so that the super detailed assets remain looking good, but are also now that you don't end up destroying your frame rate. When I'm getting verging on 50 frames per second at the moment on a PlayStation 4, and that's a remarkable achievement. So looking at how Skyhook have made use of these assets and how they recreated the scenes. There are a lot of other assets that are in the Quixel Megascan setup, and they're a really, really great way of building up the scenery quality for the areas where where those assets exist. In this case, it was just supremely great. These assets are from this area; they are from this from Moab, and you may also have seen these assets used in the Unreal 5 launch. They used these Utah assets in their demo thing as well. So if you're seeing the assets and they look familiar, it's all part of the Quixel Megascans package from the Utah scenery. So yeah, really good to see these being used, and we need to dig into how we can adopt them into some of the stuff we're doing.
Interesting. A few people are asking about DLC. Give us a chance, guys. The add-on's not even released yet. I think at the moment, as I say, when we've talked to Scott, Sean's already talked about kind of desire to do new bits and pieces, but as I say, we can't really talk any more about that at the moment. So Car Gamers just asked if we can show where we are on the map.
So we're here. So back in the southern end, we went past this bit before. So this was the as you come across you turn left here. So we're not far from the tunnel. Yeah, the tunnel was basically probably a train length behind us.
Cool. Another crossing gates question. Yeah, they will be dynamic, but as I say, not in this current build from what we've seen so far. So we're going to take a look at that. Okay, Matt, how much would you like to show? How much more would you like to show? Are we thinking, should we go through the tunnel again, or should we leave that for next week when we've got the
we're the other side of the tunnel, so we're going away from the tunnel at the moment. So
okay.
I don't know, let's get around this corner up and just along here a bit maybe, and we'll go for that. Enjoy some more dawn sun.
I've got the headlights on there as well then. Just on release dates and stuff, there's a couple of people that have asked that in the chat. We're not going to this week we're not going to be talking about release dates. I believe there was a trailer that was launched earlier today, which you can take a look at, but we're not going to be talking about release dates on this live stream. And there are shunting duties, Ultra Kid Bro. Welcome to the live stream, yeah, there will be shunting duties in the scenarios. Robert's asked, can we use any of these locos on Clinchfield?
If you're using Scenario Designer, you can put them anywhere you like. They won't substitute in them, so you'll need to make your own in the scenario panel.
Shunting is something we can show next week as well. Maybe shunting in the snow. Is that sensible? Shunting in the snow? I'm not quite
Shunting
sure.
in the snow will be fine. Stopping downhill in the snow, less so. There's someone's talking about which trains have 3, which trains have 2, which depends on the service. This particular one has 1 at the front and 1 at the back. The AC4400 had 2 at the front. The SD41 had 3 at the front because they're the lower power loco. So you normally find AC4400s paired on this, and SD40s tripled, but that might vary in the scenarios as well.
Cool. And someone's asked about the maximum wagonage we can have. Sean, I can't remember exactly what you said last time. The amount of the length of the train.
43 cars is the maximum length you can have.
Cool. That's still pretty long. That is pretty long. I think it was after that it starts to affect people's performance, doesn't it, in the game? I think that's what we said, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was something we did have it originally a lot longer, with some of our trains team being adamant that they really enjoyed the longer train, but unfortunately it really did start to put a hamper on performance, sadly.
Were there any really interesting or funny bugs when you were trying to pull the content together in one of the earlier builds that might be quite nice for the community to know?
Yeah, so one of the funnier bugs, which I believe Dovetail as well were aware of, we never came across it before. It seems to be a Ue4 Engine Bug, where if you start painting down some landscape, for example, Ue4 has the sort of weird position of making your assets just float 40 to 50 feet in the air, and a lot of it as well. That it was a funny bug, at the same time it was a very stressful one. It took a lot of working out to try and get that resolved, and thankfully it was, but the reason it was a nightmare for us is some of that would be going right up into the tracks as well. So you're just going to see a player just going through, all nice, next thing you know, just rocks are flowing through you, grass is flowing through you whilst you're driving the loco. It's not something you ideally want. I know it's given quite a few of our artists a few nightmares trying to deal with just going around each individual tile to make sure that there's none in existence anymore.
Yeah, and I know that there's been a lot of diligence on Skyhook's part to try and make sure, as I say, that a lot of these things have been identified, fixed, so that, as I say, the finished version is shiny and new, and well, I say shiny and new, rugged and dusty, and all of the things you'd expect in the desert, but not floating rocks.
Exactly. There was a funny idea going around as well, because it was that nightmarish. The artist point blank refused. I said, well, what if Skyhook's little Easter egg was floating rocks? That quickly got shut down.
Not sure that's a button that you particularly want to press, but yeah, well, that would. I mean, maybe a little one here and there, maybe.
Yeah.
But that'd be fun.
Yeah, I just threw it their way, just for a bit of fun, just for a bit of humour, because I knew how they'd react.
Engineers talked about pre-order. I'm gonna have to get back to you on that one. I'm not 100% sure about pre-order for Cane Creek. I will double check and make sure I've got an answer for that next week. Any more questions? Yeah, I'll just take a quick look through. People are confused about the low speed restrictions at this point. I guess it's because of the amount of freight that you've got.
It's heavy freight. You're on a 1.2% gradient, which is, it's not the steepest gradient in the world, but it's still challenging for trains, especially this one. This one is really quite heavy, I think. Let me just do a quick check. So we've got 3,500 tons. So you don't want to race along it. I don't know what state the track is in reality, but it wouldn't surprise me if they keep the speeds low because of the turns, because of the danger of a rockfall, and therefore the engineer needing to be able to stop if they see something on the tracks. There's all sorts of things that hold the trains back in terms of speed. So yeah, But other parts of the route are 60 mile an hour when you haven't got, as you know, the danger of those kinds of things.
Yeah, as you say, you're kind of one side of a rock face there on the right hand side. As you say, you've got potential rockfalls on the left hand side. Feels like a sensible option to have a fairly low speed limit around here. A lot of people really excited in the chat, which is nice to see. A lot of people really particularly impressed with the scenery. I think we all knew that it was going to kind of hit it out of the park with the scenery, to do with the kind of the variety of the different options. Sorry, the variety of different. The location is completely different to anything that we've got at the moment within Train Sim World 2, which is great. We love a little bit of variety, and to say hopefully over the course of this live stream we've been able to show you quite a lot of what we have to offer with this particular route, and the great work that Skyhook have done in being able to kind of bring this to reality really. Matt, are we thinking we'll give it another couple of minutes and then we'll finish for the day?
Yeah. Let's get the train into the trench section just in front of us there, and we'll call it a day there, I think.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, it's still hovering around 50 FPS for those that are keen on frame rate. And one more reminder: PS4 Pro, not PC. This is on PS4 Pro. I think next week we're looking at doing the preview number 2 will be on the PC.
If you were to refresh the stream now, you would see that it's in the stream title. We'll make sure we do that for next week. We'll make sure we put PC in the title for next week so that you all know before you come in. How long does it take to run the full route? Sean, that's probably a question for you.
I've never actually attempted that. I don't think I'm brave enough. I would say our longest scenario is 2 hours, and that takes us from north to maybe most of the way south. So I would say over a couple of hours.
That's quite impressive for a 40-mile route, isn't it? Yeah. I mean, that's quite a lot of gameplay, isn't it? That's quite impressive, really. Matt. Are there any scenarios in other routes that are at that length?
I'm trying to think. I don't think so. I want to say yes, but I couldn't name it, so I'm going to go with no.
Anyone in the chat can, if anyone in the chat can give us any examples, but that does seem like a really long scenario. So,
Sandpatch grade, yeah, that has some,
yeah, Sandpatch, of course. How did we forget that?
So I knew something.
Yeah, absolutely. Clinchfield apparently as well. Yeah, Sandpatch, a lot of Sandpatch in the chat. Okay. So we're going back through the canyon.
Just bringing
again.
The train to a stop.
And there we go.
There you go.
Oh, it's a nice shot, isn't it?
Fantastic route. It's good fun to drive. It's a different drive, and the thing that keeps it interesting, because it is babysitting the throttle, like a lot of American freight routes, babysitting the throttle and the brakes and so forth. Because this isn't just like an up and a down route. It's up and down 3 or 4 times. So you can't fall asleep at the wheel on this one, but you've got all the beautiful scenery to look at as you go, which is really really cool as well. It's really unique. There's not many routes that are going to look like this.
Yeah, and I mean, as you can see throughout the stream, there was a couple of instances where Matt was going over speed limits and all that kind of stuff. So it isn't just a kind of just put it in and just sort of admire the scenery. You do have to have a little bit of wherewithal when you're at the helm as well. So yeah, it's certainly a challenging one, and I think, as I say, even if kind of it's one of those routes which is a bit more of a sedate affair in terms of the speeds that you can go at, but that doesn't mean to say it's not challenging. So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing how everybody enjoys it when we do get to release. Matt is currently wandering around trying to get some nice shots, which means that it's probably about time for us to say goodbye for the night. Thanks everybody for watching. We'll be back next Thursday with another preview of Cane Creek. We also have the timetable for next week's Rayfan TV will be live on Monday, I believe, and we will be going from Monday. I believe there is a 4-up challenge on Monday, so if you're excited for that, then set that in your diaries. It will be community management on that one, so if you enjoyed the last time that I was on where the bell went for a considerable amount of time, you will enjoy that one as well. There is no bell this time, sadly, but there will still be mishaps aplenty, I'm sure. So thanks very much for watching. Sean, thank you very much for joining us. Appreciate you sort of taking time out of your Friday evening to come and talk to us today. How have you enjoyed today?
I've enjoyed it a lot, actually, just going through Cane Creek. I really enjoyed showing it off with you guys, and yeah, thanks for having me on.
Brilliant, thank you. You're more than welcome to come back anytime, Sean. We might see if we can grab you for the launch stream as well. You are off next week, aren't you? But we'll see if we can grab you maybe for the launch stream in a couple of weeks, in sort of a few weeks' time.
Yeah, potentially. I'll have to see, but I'm more than up for it if I can make it.
Brilliant. Awesome. And Matt, thank you very much for joining us. We are, as ever, delighted to have you on board and driving for us on a Friday evening.
Thank you. I've enjoyed it. It's fun to play.
Good. All right. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Enjoy your weekends. We certainly will. And we'll be back next week with more frolics, mayhem, and we'll have some more Cane Creek for you next week as well. So yeah, have a great weekend, everyone, and we'll see you soon.
Cheers, everyone.
See you later.
Bye-bye.